Your voice, your music.
Whether me in a skirt or jeans or short shorts, head race when me walk past. Me feel the eyes, believe the eye, me love the light, me tweet the spice.
Baby pana, they say you like you all I got you all baby pana. Anywhere that's go, I can follow you to go, baby. You level.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level, new level. New level, new level. New level, new level. I them turn Tony in a rebel. Pam pam banana pam panam banana pam pam banana pam panam pam 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 banana pam panam banana pam pam banana pam panam pam.
Your voice, your music, your station. WGHC 98.3 FM.
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
Welcome to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This is Straight Talk Radio, our world as we see it. Thank you for joining us this Saturday. We have a good program for you. We will continue our conversation on this Saturday, Africa Saturday, talking about Nigeria and asking the question like Sonia Kosin asked in the 80s, which way Nigeria? And today we will start with by discussing the discussing the elections that took place in Ekiti State and the aftermath, and talking about what we should do and what we should think and what we should learn from what just happened. Thank you. The program today is brought to you by Igbo American Heritage Foundation, and I am one of your hosts, Oke Okachuku. My other co-host will be joining us shortly. Thank you, and we are sorry for the delay. It is because we have so much traffic in Chicago, and the Cubs, I think, played. I hope they won because they have all their fans all over the road, and it was tough to get through, but enough excuses. We will dive right into the show. So thanks for joining us. So today, like I was saying, we will discuss on Africa Saturday the Ekiti State election that just went on. If you're from Nigeria or if you pay attention to news in Nigeria, and in Ekiti State, the western part of Nigeria, there was an election for a gubernatorial election. And the two big parties in Nigeria after were telling the stories because I think APC, All Progressive Congress, I think, won against PDP, which was the incumbent party. And the story is that it was a question of who paid the voters more, which means that the votes were bought and paid for by the political parties. So my thought on that is, actually, before I share my thoughts, my other co-host has just joined me, Mazi KK Odeluga.
Ndewono.
And we will have special guests today. Joining us, we will have, when he comes, I will introduce him. We'll have a special guest that will help us discuss the which way Nigeria. But until then, I'll go back to what I was talking about the governorship election in Ekiti State, where it was who paid the voters more. By that I mean who bribed the voters more, who bought the votes, basically. Because the story out there is that PDP won, APC won, and the People's Democratic Party, I think it's called PDP, is charging that APC actually rigged the election and didn't really win it. And how did they rig the election? By paying voters standing in line 5,000 naira so that they will vote for PDP. And there were some other irregularities, but the biggest story is that PDP paid money, and actually APC paid money, and officials of APC have come out and said, look, we did that because PDP was paying 4,000, and we heard about it, and we went ahead and paid 5,000, so they outbid them by 1,000. Mazio Deluga, any thoughts on this? On who paid more?
No, I mean, I think it's a sad commentary on
the voters themselves.
That's right. I mean, the question then that arises:
Yes.
Is this the best system for this country?
Well, it's democracy, right? So you one man, one vote. At least they got that.
But you see, the democracy, that the way we see it,
Yes.
I don't think that the African has really accepted government as had been set up by the colonial governments.
Yes.
So government, it's not their thing.
Yes.
Because I can bet you, if there's anything being done in local communities within Ekiti,
Yes.
no, people are not going to be buying vote and selling vote.
Yes, if they understood what they were buying and selling.
That's right.
Because
So
to them, they were thinking, we are buying, these people are giving me money so that I'll put this piece of paper somewhere.
and it's their thing.
And it's their thing.
So again, it goes back to voter education. How much of this whole democratic process have been internalized by the people? One. Two, how culturally relevant is this system
Yes.
to what the people are used to?
Yes.
So it's not a question of, most African countries, or part of what the West tries to sell to Africans is that, you need to have a democratic process.
Yes.
And so people begin to adopt these systems that they don't really understand, that are not culturally relevant.
So on a one back camera we see who is messing up this education? Is it that we are not doing our job in educating the people, or is it that the people themselves are not picking up the information that's readily available?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. At some point, Africa has to wake up, or nations like Nigeria has to wake up and ask themselves the question: how were we doing governing ourselves before the Europeans came?
Yes.
How can we begin to create indigenous governance systems or socio-political systems that are akin to what our people are used to, and where people have sanctions? You see, part of the challenge that we're having now is, in this process, they're going to go to court.
Yes. Well.
And now, APC knows that being the government in power, they control the judges.
So no matter what they will do the same thing they did at the voter stuff.
That's right. They're going to buy the judges.
Somebody's going to go pay the judge.
Yes.
And somebody's going to pay more.
That's right.
And who pays more wins.
That's the point.
And then if they don't accept it, then they go pay the ones in appeal.
That's right.
And then after the process, we'll end up exactly where we started.
Depending on who
got the judge.
There's a perception that really needs this badly.
Yes.
Or the way it wants to be worked out.
The do or die. The do or die process.
That's right. So you find out immediately that this is so foreign. Yes. So in places where democracy is practiced, there are checks and balances. Yes. So you ask yourself, who are the checks, who are the balances? So, the president appoints the electoral commission. The electoral commissioner is serving at the pleasure of the president and the ruling party.
Is that really how it's supposed to be?
That's right. And you cannot guarantee that they are unbiased umpires.
Yes.
And so it's not something that is being done as is like in the U.S., where you have the local government controlling the electoral process, and and they report those things up to the state,
right,
which the state now sends to the federal during federal elections. So there's no local control. It's all federal centralized control, yes, and the ruling party determines
who does what.
Who does what within the electoral commission.
Part of the story at Ekiti was that none of the law enforcement arrested, that the people they arrested, they let go because they were part of APC. So they said the people they arrested with ballot papers that were fake, the people they arrested with trying to stuff the ballot box, eventually, at this point, nobody's talking about them because they were all let go, or somebody bailed them out, which bailed them out in Nigeria means paying for them to just be let go.
No, but you see, they don't even need to be bailed out.
Yes.
Because the IG of police, it was appointed by the president of the ruling party.
So where I'm going with this story is, if he was the incumbent, which is not part of the ruling party, yes, that actually they arrested the people that did this, and they were the ones that actually outbought the election now, then the story will be different, because the law enforcement may actually be prosecuting
Yes, those who they found with ballot materials.
Because they are not the people in power.
That's right. You see, all throughout the history of elections
Yes.
in Nigeria, from even the colonial days,
Yes.
there's always been problem with irregularities.
Everywhere.
Now,
I
the
remember
British,
hanging shafts where we
that's
lived.
right. No, the British, while they were in Nigeria,
Yes.
rigged the elections in so many ways.
Yes.
And also, after the independence in the 60s, in the early 60s, that was actually when the do or die politics began.
Yes,
Now,
I remember the one in the West that
That's
got
right.
Awolowo out of power. I mean, not get the seat, right?
Good. So, what are we seeing now? I'm glad that it's gotten
So,
to.
we inherited a corrupted system,
And-
and we are working to perfect the corruption.
And there has never been in the history, as far as I can see and say, there has never been anyone held accountable
For any of these
for
stuff.
rigging the election.
Yes.
Not even the electoral officers,
No.
nor the politicians and their leadership.
No.
Nobody has ever been. Even in modern times, what you have is the political parties or the individuals, the candidates go to the law courts, spend a whole lot of money
And then-
with lawyers,
and then
at some point their mandate, so-called mandate, is restored or even validated. But in all throughout this process, where there are glaring irregularities
Nobody
in
will-
the electoral
So
process,
I'll tell
none
you.
of the resident electoral officers, nor the other people who are participants in the electoral process, none of them have ever been indicted.
So I actually was going to tell us. Actually, I should go ahead and tell the story. So something happened in Anambra State a long while ago. There was an election, and after the election, they showed us the results and said that one Mazin Gige, Dr. Gige, won the election. And then a lot of people started going to court. One of them was Mazi Obi.
Yes.
Eventually, I think after 2 years,
Yes.
the courts decided, oh yes, there was rigging in Anambra State. But not only did they decide there was rigging, the whole information about who rigged and what rigged and all those things started showing themselves, because the godfather that rigged Mazingige in started coming to get his promise fulfilled, and it wasn't being fulfilled. So there was a whole lot of things going on, and them actually showing up to the people what happened.
Yes.
So a sitting governor confessed to a lot of things that they did that was illegal and wrong, and how they bribed and rigged the election and got the person out. Eventually, Obi's mandate was restored. What happened to Mazin Gige and the people who supported him, who did all these crazy things? Absolutely nothing. Actually, not nothing. He actually got rewarded in that he got on a Senate seat and got from a Senate seat, and now he is a minister on the federal level, and all the bad things that they done. And now I remember 1 Corinthians 5:17. All things are passed away. Behold, all things are new. So no repercussions for all the bad things, no repercussions for the illegal stuff. What does that tell the young guy who's growing up, or young woman who's growing up and looking at this process? Whoever plays the game the best wins.
That's right. And so, for the rest of the country,
Yes.
the question is, before the electorate,
Yes.
as the politicians are campaigning,
Yes.
is to ask yourself the question, how am I going to protect my vote?
Actually, let's talk
And
about what's the vote. What's this vote all about?
What is my
What are we voting for?
Yes.
What does this do? Why am I doing this exercise? Why would I come out and vote? Is it just because it is my civic duty to do? It's my duty as a citizen to perform? But why do that duty? What is it all about?
Because in a democratic process,
Yes.
the power is vested in the individual. And it is the individual's right to choose
Yes.
who
Will represent them.
will represent them. And so that is what the vote is all about.
Okay. So
Is a representation of the power of the individual to vote.
So the person representing me, what does he do? He's just representing me. What is he gonna do for me? What do I gain by his representation?
No, which at whatever level. If it's local government, if it's state level, if it's representation at the national level,
Yes.
or if it's executive powers, those people will start using the
So
the
they
mandate.
are sitting in my stead. So democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people, which means that I am part of the government.
I am the
But
government.
we can't all sit down together and
That's
make
right.
all these decisions. So instead of doing that, we vest we say this guy is going to represent me and speak for me. So on the voting day, it's me actually deciding who that is.
Yes.
So when they are going to take all the wealth that Nigeria has and try to figure out how do we use it to make life better for me, I'm being part of the government. So I have this one guy to represent me at that table. If they're going to decide all this debt Nigeria has, how are we going to pay it? I'm sending this guy to represent me.
Yes.
If they are going to whatever it is that whatever pain is coming to Nigeria, who feels the pain, right?
Yes.
He's the one that's representing me. So that vote is not just because I am doing Nigeria a favor or that I'm just performing a mindless task. It is because I am deciding to vest my authority in one person to represent me.
Yes.
And while you think about that, and you could actually call us and have a conversation. Well, let me introduce our guest and we'll talk about that. We have a very special guest. You've heard him here before on the radio. He is a professor, a reverend father. He has his, we've introduced him before, so actually I let my CEO delegate do it because he has better information than I do.
No, I mean, most of you have heard Dr. Austin Okibo, on this Straight Talk Radio. He's not just an intellectual, he's a scholar. And
A man of the cloth.
a man of the cloth, but he's an expert in ethnomusicology,
Yes.
linguist, and in fact, so much expertise in things African,
Yes.
things
Beyond
religious,
Africa,
beyond that.
international.
And so it's really a great pleasure to have you with us today, live on Facebook Live for the first time.
Yes,
We've heard
yes.
your voice. So can you all welcome with us Dr. Austin Okibo?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
so
you for
we've,
joining.
we've been talking about which way Nigeria.
Yes.
And if you follow the conversation, it's really, we've been talking about this recent election that happened at the Ekiti.
Yes.
What's your take on that whole fiasco?
Honestly, it's one of the disappointing election that we've had in recent times. You know, you would think that Nigeria is, every now and then you think we are getting out of the wood. For several years, on tonight, up to 2015, we thought, okay, finally, we're getting it right. Our election was becoming more and more free and fair and less violent. And then suddenly, we have a new administration that decided to preside over a very bloody, very crooked election process. Now, of course, what happened in Ekiti can generate mixed feelings. Some people who think that Fayose was too outlandish in his style as governor, but that notwithstanding, even if he was outlandish, that's not a reason for the federal government, as far as I'm concerned, the federal government contributed to the mess in Ekiti State. APC may have thought they have won the election, but that Ekiti State election is going to be a dent on the record of Muhammadu Buhari and the APC-led administration.
Why do you call it a dent?
Because it was bloody. How do you explain the governor of a state being beaten up, his security detail being withdrawn, the blatant selling of APC, it's a PVC, the blatant selling of votes and all of that? How do you explain it? I mean, this is unheard of at least in the past 10 to 15 years in Nigerian electoral system.
Yes, and I think for the context for this, for those who may not know, at the end of the Jonathan administration during the last election of 2016, 2015, yes. One of the high points of it was everybody told the story. Wow, Nigeria has really come around. There's been a peaceful transition from one government to the other.
Yes.
And you saw a process that was officiated or overseen by the PDP,
Or by the sitting government.
a sitting president,
And
and then losing that election to the opposition.
Yes.
And so everybody all around the world said, wow,
Nigeria
this is
turned
a
the
sign of
page.
maturity.
Yes.
And Jonathan, of course, was celebrated for handing over power peacefully
Something
and
that
not
should
trying
happen
to
naturally.
do what everybody else has tried to do, perpetuate themselves in power.
Yes.
Or using the official channel powers of the government to affect the election. Now, Buhari was coming in as a reformer.
Yes.
Remember, he was coming in to fight corruption. Remember, APC was going to come in to clean up.
Yes.
Then now in Ekiti, we have the situation that we have. Now, what does that tell you?
Well, first of all, let me begin by saying also that Ekiti is not an isolated case.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, they tried this in Rivers State.
Okay.
That the election that brought Wike to power
Yes.
Yes.
after what's his name, the current minister
Amechi.
Amechi, Wike won the election, and there was constant, call for a run and for all of that. So there was an attempt to thwart the electoral process in Rivers State. So Rivers State was a test case that they tried it in a very mild way, and they realized that if they didn't use high-handedness, they weren't going to win. And I think that's part of what made them
They did in Ekiti.
go high-handedly in Ekiti State. Meaning that we Nigerians have to watch out. The world has to watch out. 2019 presidential election, and I'm predicting it's going to be very bloody if we're not careful.
So I know some people will listen to the program and go, well, you all are PDP people and you're only saying this because your party didn't win. Any of you guys PDP members carrying card? Not that it matters.
I'm not a PDP person. I've said this before, even on Channels TV when I was called upon a few years ago. I said, look, when APC emerged
Yes.
as a coalition of oppositions against PDP, I was one of those that celebrated it.
Yes.
Because I celebrated because I thought finally we have a more formidable political party,
Yes.
platform.
Or
against
at
PDP.
least we are beginning to have a true opposition.
A stronger opposition that
Yes.
will help to make PDP get their acts together in
Yes.
many places where they have gotten it wrong.
Yes.
So this has nothing to do with me. I'm not a PDP person, but where I got fed up with APC from the day they selected Buhari as their flag bearer, because as far as I'm concerned, Buhari has a very dirty record as military head of state, as Minister of Petroleum, who looted 2.8 billion that he has not accounted for. So APC recycle. There were many young people. Even Fashola, Fashola was one person I was looking up to that they could have selected.
That's
So many
right.
Young, reasonable,
Progressives.
who have good record in leadership that could have been selected, and they decided to bring Buhari out from the village.
Yes.
Well, we for those who didn't know Buhari, now they know him. But it is not about the letters that they use for the parties, because I still can't articulate any other platforms for the parties. Actually, I'm more worried about the process. So for the federal government to pull the security officers of a sitting governor just because there's an election and allow him to be beaten up by thugs because he has no security, it's putting his life in danger and in trying to intimidate him.
No, his testimony, his assertion was that he was beaten by the
same
by
security.
that's right, by the police officers.
So I know I've said this on the program, and I know there are people trying to put proposals together or working to make sure that the proposal gets up there. This is still the case to have local policing. This is the case to have not just so that the guy will have protection, but so that the indigents of a community will be able to care for their own safeguarding and select the people that will safeguard them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's another.
Because when you think about it,
Yes.
even though the police were there to protect the governor, to guard the governor.
Yes.
But we have a federal policing system, and they serve under the presidency. Our police system is not even under the judiciary.
No.
So you have an IGP who serves the interests of the president. Look at, for instance, we have an IG, Inspector General of Police, who not long ago issued a statement that Nigerians should support Mr. Buhari because he fights corruption.
Yes.
First of all, as Inspector General of Police, you have no right. It's not your responsibility. It's not a prerogative to start campaigning for the president.
Yes.
So we have a situation where the president can issue order to IG and he will recall his voice, and the governor is left vulnerable.
No, not only that, we've seen it during this all the terror attacks.
The Boko Haram thing,
the Boko Haram,
what's the
the
name?
herdsmen terrorists.
Yes.
We've seen that where the governors, the sitting governors, the Benue governor, the Enugu governor, were quite clear that they placed their call.
They had a meeting before at Enugu.
Yes.
With all the security officers. They heard the rumors. They were ready. They had a plan in place. Then, when the time came to implement the plan, he was being told to call Abuja.
Yeah. Yes. And now, is there anything in our history that does point, kind of like, I mean, that could give us some guidance where we are?
Well, in the 1966, in the run-up to the Civil War, during the programs, this was also obtainable. There were many instances where people called upon the state, the army, the police to come and intervene when there were clear indicators that there was going to be an attack.
Yes.
And each time, the military stood by, watching as the people were being slaughtered. So
or were actively accused
or
of
even actively participating in the mayhem.
One of the things that is troubling is that here you have APC with a leader from the north, with a vice president from the west, and you have crises of elections in the western region.
Yes.
Isn't that reminiscence of what happened in 1966?
Exactly. With Abraham Adesanya and the others. And
yes.
Yeah.
So we are back to, that's what I tell people.
We're back to 1966.
We are back to 66, 67.
Wow, that's
where there was, where clearly there was lack of security or the government could not guarantee the safety of life and property of his citizens.
Yes.
Now, in 66, it was the Easterners.
The same process that got Awolowo imprisoned in Calabar.
Yes.
The same thing, that the conditions that led to the first military coup.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you see everything being played out now because the leadership of MPC overplayed their hands.
Yeah.
And so you now find the leadership of
APC.
APC.
You just have to replace the N with an A.
That's right. Overplaying their hands.
Yes.
But believing and thinking that they are acting in the interest of the people.
No. I don't. I may be. I mean, I would like to be wrong, but I don't think that these people believe and think they are acting in the interest of the people. I know that they know they are acting in their self-interest. There is nothing the government before and the government now is doing. Well, the government now, the administration now is doing that actually says anything about the people. Everything they are doing is selfish for the interest of that government.
So when we come back,
not the interest of the government, the interest of the people.
Of the people that purport to be in government.
The problem is, however, let me before we go on break, if you're going to go break, the issue here is also we have actually a two-tier administration in the current federal government. So you point out the fact that we have a president presiding over the current administration that is from the north, and not just from any part of the north, but from a particular part of the north.
Yes.
With a disguised federalist approach when he has a Yoruba, somebody from the west as vice president, who doesn't even know much of what is happening in terms of policy. Remember that from the very beginning, there were many times where he was excluded from security meetings and briefings.
Yes.
So, and that it has continued to happen. Osibanjo, I'm sorry to say, and many Yorubas know this, and some will accept it, some may not accept it, is being used as an errand boy. This is not unlike what they did with Oladipo Dia. It's not unlike what they did, when after using him, then they turned around and accused him of plotting coup.
Yes. Yeah.
So we
You
should
are
not be
listening
surprised.
to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. And this is Straight Talk Radio coming to you again, sponsored by the Igbo American Heritage Foundation. We are here every Saturday with 4 to 6. And on Tuesdays, we are here from 9 to 10
p.m.
And you can listen to us on the dial 98.3 FM, or you can download the WGHC app 98.3 FM for those who are iPhone users, and you can listen to us on 24/7 from this wonderful community radio coming to you from Chicago. Or you can also download the TuneIn app, and then if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 773-942-7167. Again, this is Straight Talk Radio, and our special guest today on this show is Dr. Austin Okibo. Now we're talking about the elections, and so what should the Nigerians do to take back their government? What do you think they should do?
Well, before we talk about what the Nigerians should do, I'm actually thinking that the citizens of Nigeria are part of the problem. Maybe because of how we started talking about the ignorance of the process, or thinking that the process is foreign and is for them, not for the people.
Yes.
I don't see I saw people women marching on the streets of Ekiti,
Yes.
wearing PDP uniforms and chanting and calling whoever won the election a thief.
Yes.
But they were wearing a political party uniform. Yeah. So I mean, if you look at them, you will say, well, maybe they are disgruntled because they were outplayed. But if the citizens of Ekiti did not sell their votes, if the majority of the citizens of Ekiti actually think that the person that's now going to be representing them as the governor is the wrong person, they should speak up. They should demonstrate their dissatisfaction and actually ask for a recount but if there is no reason to recount because they sold their vote, it's like Esau selling his birthright, then they have to live. I mean, they get the government they deserve. Now, what they have to do as citizens is figure out what they do to make this government that they deserve work for their benefits. But I think the problem is not just the government, the problem is also the people.
Yeah, and you point out something that is very important. The women are demonstrating. And guess what? They are wearing the T-shirts of a political party.
Yes.
EDP, meaning that now it's going to be that
The perception is
going to be that is the losing party that is demonstrating.
yes.
So if the citizens of Ekiti are not satisfied with what happened, you shouldn't go demonstrating by
On behalf of
another party.
You
a
should
losing
demonstrate
party.
on
should
your behalf.
Be demonstrating on your behalf as citizens who are unaffiliated. And I'm
Yes.
sure many of those people are not affiliated. So demonstrate for your own right, not demonstrating for a political party.
Yep.
But the other thing is, what should the other communities within the Nigerian political space be doing?
Now, ndị Igbo si n'ụzọ amara akpụ ogene na agba anya n'ọdụ. Maybe that doesn't fit. The one that may fit better would na ozufuru ka eji mbazue n'ibia chee maka ụbọchị nke ya. So for those who are standing on the side and watching this go down and
Yes.
seeing what went down and seeing how people misplaced their trust by easily selling their birthright just for a morsel of apple, you should not. I'm not saying you should sell it for a higher price. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should sell your vote for much higher, but I'm telling you, if you're going to sell it, it should be in the hundreds of thousands. Nobody should be able to give you 4,000 and get your vote. If somebody's going to get your vote, they should start bargaining from 600,000. That's my take. But you should not sell it because it was well wanted. If somebody is willing to give you any money for your vote, imagine what they're going to get. Nobody's going to come to you and say, you know what, I'm willing to lose all my millions and billions and I'll give it away. We haven't found that person in Nigeria. I don't think you know any person, like even your richest pastor or your richest governor or your richest man in Nigeria is trying to extort you of the little that you have. So if anybody comes around you giving you money for your vote, the first thing that should come to your mind is it is worth way much more than he's willing to pay. Even though I say you should start beginning at 600,000, the correct amount for your vote is about $550 million, not naira. So if you're going to sell it, remember that price, $550 million.
In other words, what you're saying is nothing is
worth selling your vote for. Yes. You should select the person that should represent your interest. Nigeria has a lot of money. The reason it's not getting to you are because the governors, the senators, the ministers, the people that are supposed to be representing you are not letting the money go beyond them. So why do you think your governor, who's been sleeping on his brother's couch for the last 20 years, gets into the governorship office, and then when he gets out, he owns about 20,000 companies outside of Nigeria, 50 in your local neighborhood, all the land around your area, and now he's a kingmaker and he has all this money? It's because he gave you 5,000 naira and he took all the billions that belong to you.
Another thing is also talking about what other people in other parts of the country should be doing is, like I said before, what happened in Ekiti, a test run for what happened in Ekiti was in River State. Another test run for it was what happened with the APC convention.
Yes.
Given the way some members of the APC party tried to undermine Okorocha in Owerri during their nomination process.
Yes.
And how Okorocha still continued to try to maneuver using the national platform.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it again, and I've said it before, that 2019, it might, if we're not careful, might be the bloodiest election time in Nigeria. But also the very fact that Imo State is going to be a hot spot. Abia State is going to be a hot spot. Edo State will be a hot spot. Kaduna will be a hot spot. Jos will be a hot spot. Benue State will be a hot spot. Katsina will be a hot spot. Yobe State will be a hot spot. How many states have I listed?
7.
That's about 8. Eight states.
What?
Why do you say that these states will be a hotspot?
Why do I say they will be
Why
hotspots?
do you believe they're going to be hotspots?
Each of them have various factors that will make them hotspots. They are not all necessarily going to be impacted by the same factors.
Yes.
Imo State is going to be impacted by the fact that Imo State is not an APC hotbed.
Yes.
We only happen to have an APC governor who is very selfish and very dangerous.
And irresponsible.
And irresponsible.
Very, very.
Yeah. We have Abia State that is not currently occupied by an APC governor.
Yes.
But it's been the complicating factors there are the fact that he is also irresponsible, even though he's PDP, and he has refused to learn the lesson for why PDP lost out in the first place.
Yes.
Also, Abia State currently, because of its association with IPOB and the youth movement there, is very strong. Edo State is an APC hotbed, but it has very disgruntled citizenry.
Yes.
Who would want to rid themselves of APC,
yes,
but do not know what to do with PDP.
That's right.
So it's going to be a hotbed. What is the other state?
Kaduna.
Kaduna State is going to be a hotspot because of the Muslim-Christian conflict that is going on there. That is also reminiscent of the Zango-Kataf problem.
Yes.
Plateau State is mirroring that.
Yes.
Yep.
Benue State is mirroring that.
That's right.
Katsina is mirroring that.
Yep. Yobe.
And Yobe is already impacted by both the herdsmen as well as the Boko Haram.
Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Now, the question now for the Nigerians is, how do you take back your democracy, your space? Because if this is a democracy, the people, the power still belongs to the people.
Yes.
Now, and so let's start from home because, I mean, straight talk is the world as we see it from the Igbo perspective.
Yes. So
Now,
Igbo.
so looking at Imo State,
Yeah.
the fact that there have been a successful selection of a gubernatorial candidate
Was it
under
gubernatorial?
APC, right? That is not the person that was handpicked by Okorocha. Does it guarantee that Imo State is out of the woods?
It does not, because Imo State is an APGA hotbed.
Yes.
And but APC, by virtue of being the incumbent, have a lot of leverage, and both from the state, by managing the state coffers, as well as having the connection with the federal headquarters, the federal budget.
Now,
So and then APC being divided right now in Imo State, and we have somebody who is very relentless, sitting in the seat of power. So unfortunately, the APGA in Imo State do not seem to get their acts together yet. So PDP still has a very strong hold in Imo State. So we are looking at why Imo State is going to be a major, if not bloody hotspot, is we're going to have multiple factions fighting. If APGA were to align with PDP like they did in the last presidential election, which is part of what made them win, or PDP won the election, won the presidency. APC just won about 5% of the vote. What you're going to have is a situation whereby they might be able to take power back, because the INEC in Imo State is currently not very much under the grip of the present administration. He's doing everything possible.
So we have to remember in Imo State was not always APC. The guy that
And it
was
is
there
not.
came from APGA.
Yes, that's why I'm
And
saying
then
it's
cross
not.
carpet.
That's why I said.
But you
it's-
see, and that is what where my question is going to come to.
Yes.
A lot of the PDP people and APGA people now all flowed back into APC because as now onye bu igu
Even the
ka ewu na-eso,
even the
which
rebellious,
is the way our people play politics.
yeah, even the rebellious group currently in APC that try to undermine Okorocha, Ararume, and others. were
All
from-
APGA PDP
they
people.
came from PDP. Yes.
That's right.
So I know we're mentioning a lot of letters and parties. I'll go back to what I usually say. I like that. I mean, in Nigeria, there is no way to contest an election unless you're one of those A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z parties. But the people should at least, on this conversation and actually in trying to evaluate who will represent them, forget about the letters and think about the character of those people who are going to stand in place for those letters.
Yes.
If the guy who is bearing the flag for APGA is a terrible guy and you know it, why waste your vote on him? If the guy who's bearing the flag is under APC, but he is the best guy there is, why say, well, he's with APC and not select the best guy there is?
Well,
If he's the worst guy there is, then why waste your time? So find the right person, no matter what party it is. Actually, be the right person and get into the party
Well,
yourself.
let me point out something here, and
Yes.
because a year to every election in Nigeria, we start talking so much about who is running.
Yes.
And this is where what I have always said. That's like, to me, a year to election time in Nigeria,
late.
whatever you're doing is already too late. It's medicine after death.
Yes.
We need to people need to start staying engaged soon after any electoral cycle. Because that is the first one. Secondly, people need to understand that you don't necessarily have to run for office to belong to political party.
Yes.
Like in this country, you're either a Democrat or Republican, or maybe you're an independent.
Yes.
So you don't have to be a card-carrying party member just because you want to run for office. You be a card-carrying party member because you want to have a say in who goes to represent you.
Yes.
If you don't, then the crooks will select one of them. You end up on the two sides of the party, then only vying for who is the lesser evil.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, so you brought up an important point, but that's not the way the process is in Nigeria. you have to be a registered party member
Yes.
to participate in the caucus for the selection
That's
of
what
the
I'm.
candidate.
That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes,
That's right. So unless that is changed,
Yeah.
where the people,
Yeah.
so that every political party will say, okay, this is the day of the
Caucus.
convention,
Yeah.
caucuses, then the people will go. If I want to participate in the Apuga election, when I get to the polling station, they will give me the Apuga ballot.
Yeah.
If I want to participate in the APC ballot, that's what I pick. Any of the political parties that are participating at the state level for the state offices, that's what I pull. So then that allows the people who are not just the operatives, the die-hard operatives, to participate in this. Otherwise, what you have is selected people being foisted on the people. So by the time we have the choice at the ballot box at the general election, the choices you have might not be the choices you want.
So that's the same point I'm making.
Yes. So I think what the point you're making is that we need to change the process of selection of the candidates that will contest the election. The people have to participate, who
Well-
are not just die-hard party operatives.
Well, not necessarily, because the way the Constitution allows, lays it out for primaries,
Yes.
is that party members are the ones who will select, who will be chosen as delegates, and who will go there to select the candidate, the nomination process. So, in effect, if you don't register as a member of APC, PDP, ABGA, or UPP, as the case may be, if you don't register, be a party card carrying member, you have no voice in who is going to be nominated. Then you end up
With whoever.
letting the crooks who run the party to choose to foist their worst candidates upon you, and you have no other choice than to now start choosing between
the best of two evils.
the list of the
better.
evil.
The list of the
Exactly.
evil. Who is it? Yeah.
Exactly. So politically speaking, it's not a question of changing the process,
It's a
because
participation.
you can't even change the process unless you have the power.
Yes.
The only way you can have
You
the
gotta
power
get in
is
the
to
room.
get into the game.
Yeah, but then that is the challenge for most people. They they are afraid, or they think politics is dirty.
Right. it's
They
for
don't
the
want to
dirty
get
people.
involved. So
Well, but we have our responsibility, like what we are doing here and now,
yes,
is to educate the public
yes,
on what to do, because like the British empiricist John Stuart Mill would say, there can be no great improvement in the lot of a people until a change has taken place in their fundamental mode of thought. If the fundamental mode of our thought is to stand by the side
yes,
and watch the process,
yes.
then we are going to continue recycling the process
Okay.
that is not working.
Again, this is Straight Talk Radio, coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. You're listening to Mazi Okechukwu and Mazi KK Odeluga, and we have as our special guest today, Mazi Dr. Austin Okibo. We are talking about the last election in Nigeria under the umbrella of Which Way Nigeria. Which Way Nigeria. Now, that has always been the concern.
Yes.
Where is Nigeria going? And in that question is this big question, this subtext.
Yes.
Ebek and Igbo na-eche.
Right.
Because,
so,
you see, in this whole political discussion, we must find a direction for our people.
Yes.
And so, using the Imo State
yes.
as a backdrop,
Yes.
you talked about all these political parties, and I see what your point, Dr. Kibo.
Yes.
The question then is, should we as Ndibo develop permanent interests
Oh, yes.
and not permanent and not political affiliation?
So actually,
How would that work?
I wanted to say this when we started talking about the two sides of APC in Imo State and Abgana having their act together. As Ndibo who want for the Mandigo, it is incumbent on all these disagreeing parties
Yes.
to put their griefs on hold one way
Yes.
and get in a room and think about the interest of Ndibo. And for the interest of Ndibo, decide that whoever wins, and they could work it out however they work it out after that conversation. These are the things that as Onye Winu, as an Asonye Igbo, that you should do for your people.
Yes.
And actually, even if these parties will not get in a room and do that, I'm well on DC obodo. I mean, we don't see as politicians. I'm well on the Nochitelanya and I'm well even na Ozo na Nze. These are the people that should be getting together and saying, these are the map of the plan. This is the vision that we have for our place, our local area. This is the vision that we have for our state. And they should right now be putting it in front of all these party representatives and saying, whether you win or lose, these are the things we want. If you win, we want you to do this. If you lose, we want you to support this.
Well, let me come in here, but before I say something, let me ask you a question, Mr. Kechukwu.
Yes.
I hate to use somebody as an example.
Yes.
But do you see a person like Okorocha of Owerri being potentially an individual who can come to the table and agree genuinely to this kind of arrangement?
Iberi won't let some people get into it.
So the reason why I'm saying that is today, because Okorocha today is, when he was running for governor, members of his home in Idato supported him. There were many people who brought out money, Ibeto them and others, who brought in even up to $1 million or more to support him. Today, there are even some widows who are losing their land under Okorocha in Idato. No, he's not doing it only in Owerri, the state capital. He's doing it in his hometown. So the point I'm making is, it goes back to the point I was making at the beginning. It's not enough to just come when it's time for election, then we say, let's come to table and reach this agreement. You cannot reach an agreement with somebody who already has an agenda.
That's right.
A process is in motion.
So
the ball is rolling.
Exactly. So the ball is already rolling. The train has left the station. That arrangement won't work. On the contrary, the individual, when he says, yes, I agree to this arrangement, is only to allow him get to that finishing line so that he can do what he wants to do.
But you see, again, you brought up a point. You ask yourself the question, where is the accountability that is supposed to be provided, in a democracy where you have
That's where I say the people are failing.
No, not just the people.
Yes.
There's a House of Representatives, the House of Assembly at the state level, that ought to hold the governor accountable.
Yeah.
And there is the judiciary,
Yeah.
that is supposed to also hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Now, how come these institutions have broken down?
Because again, remember that the Chief Justice of the state is appointed by the governor.
Okay.
They
not voted in.
Yes, not voted in. So, and even if he's voted in, if that were ever to happen, it will most likely happen on a party platform.
Yep.
So you have a system already where those who preside at these various institutions, civil institutions, are political appointees, and who see themselves as serving at the behest of the governor by virtue of being appointed by him. So in effect, the point it takes me back again to the point I was making from the very beginning. There are only one major civil society or body that has some degree of credibility now, and who can, if they wish, if they want to, start from the very beginning and play the role of politically educating the citizenry.
Yes.
And that is the church.
That's right.
And when I talk about the church, I'm not even talking about some of the Pentecostal churches and some of the pastors. There are too many of those who are busy collecting tithe. I'm talking about the mainstream who have the educated personnel.
Yes.
The Catholic priests, the Anglicans, the bishops, who should be leading. This is the way it happened in the days when, like, I used example of what happened during the Nazi movement.
Yes.
Right? It was the Catholic bishops of Germany who, seeing what was happening and realizing that the citizens were helpless, they couldn't, even though they supported Hitler from the very beginning when he was embarking on his Nazi movement, they didn't realize where he was headed until by the time they realized it, everybody was peeing in their pants and scared to death to say anything. Pope Pius XI was sick in bed, right? The Catholic bishops of Germany, Germany was not a Catholic state. It was now a Lutheran state.
That's right.
It was the Catholic bishops of Germany who led a delegation to Rome to speak to the Pope and say, you got to do something. We're helpless here. And the Pope, within 1 week, issued an encyclical, the very and only first encyclical letter that was issued in German. And it was that very encyclical that began to expose the evils of Nazism to the world. And that started garnering and mobilizing movement against Nazism, so that when the war started by 1937, you had a very formidable opposition to
All
Nazism
across the globe.
all across the globe.
Again.
So in effect, we have the only civil body that has the responsibility and has the role to play in educating the citizens. Don't wait. And I keep saying, even to my bishop, I say this: do not wait for every time when the election cycle, then we start looking, who do we want to endorse? Anybody you endorse is as bad as the other.
So what you're saying is really there should be a system of grooming and developing leadership.
Yes, not only
That is ongoing.
yes,
not-
and also educating the
And
citizens.
educating the citizenry.
Yeah.
But you see,
And you don't educate the citizenry just from the pulpit.
Okay.
You have to create some structure in place
yes.
that will help to engineer this and get people to start understanding the process.
You know, when I was growing up,
But you see, again, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I know in Imo State there were issues with the last leader who was Ohakim.
Yeah.
yes,
And it was like Imo State people of quality and substance went out looking for a possible
to
replacement.
recruit, yes.
And so the mantra then was anybody but Hakim.
Just like we said, anybody but Jonathan.
Anybody
Like
but
where we are.
Jonathan. And so because I remember the Catholic Church in the Imo State was very much against Hakim because of some of the things that happened under his leadership. So when the Imo State indigents went out, like you said, there were prominent citizens of Imo that saw Okorocha as a savior or somebody that could be invested in. But he came in and became a huge disappointment. Now, the question is, what lessons have we learned from that? And how do we need to proceed? Because until the power, again, that the people possess is able to be turned on as a means of accountability, the political class will continue to play the same game.
That's
Because what you see in most of the communities is really there's no platform, there's no philosophy or ideology guiding their participation. It's a question of who is in power.
Yeah.
So why should Ararume, who used to be a PDP, go to APC?
And
I mean, he never made a transition through ACN to go to APC. But he saw that this is the presidential,
The
the
vehicle,
power,
that's
the
the vehicle.
party at the
and
center.
Ararume has been longing to be governor of Imo State.
That's right.
So Ararume is not even better than Okorocha.
That's right.
So
So there are certain people that the community ought to say, "They Ozugo,"
yeah.
because that is what we're seeing in Anibo.
Yeah.
Recycling of leaders.
Yeah.
And there are so many young, smart, bright, young young men and women that could actually get into the political process and make a great difference.
I am hearing two things. One is, it seems like we are saying, let's start today to get ready for 2013,
Yeah.
right? And then the other
2023.
2023. The other thing I'm hearing is, now we know the train has left the station and it may be Aralume or somebody else. Now, what do we do to make sure that we check the excesses we expect and to hold them accountable
Yes.
in the things that we know they will do? So I think there's a discussion about how do the people take back their power, even the people that sold it to Ekiti people. How do you make sure that the people that you sold your power to are doing the things that are worth it for you? And now, starting from now, start getting ready for 2023.
Okay. So we have a question from a listener.
Yes.
And the question is, the people may wish to participate but do not know how. So how do they participate? How do they participate in the political process?
Okay.
We need to start breaking it down.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so Dr. Kibo, do you want to take that?
I can. Who asked that question?
It was asked by Nek Albasi.
Okay. Here is the thing. A few years ago, when I was in South Africa, And this is one of the things I noticed while I was doing work with the Diaconia Council of Churches. I traveled across the Black Townships in Kwama Ashu, Kwamakuta, Umlaze, and in Adams Mission and a number of places.
Shout out to South Africans.
And one of the things I noticed was how they operate what you call community resource centers.
Ah.
These community resource centers were established during the apartheid regime, where they trained citizens in what you call paralegal services, political education, so that even in the restrictive laws of the apartheid state,
Yes.
so that people will still know, because you're looking at a time where people didn't even know they had even some rights left,
Yes.
even within that apartheid system.
Yes.
But the community resource centers educated them on even the little rights they had within that apartheid system and how to leverage it. See what I mean?
Yes.
So the community resource centers were training people in paralegal services, training them in different things, political process, and how to organize. And
yes.
So in effect, what I'm saying in effect is, I've seen that model. I've also seen the model of African American organizations in the churches here.
Yes.
How the black churches here have always functioned not only as a place of prayer, but also community resource center, political action
Yes.
networks, and even
Social activism.
social and economic development.
Yes.
And in fact, even the community resource centers in South Africa functioned as much.
Yes.
Now, we used to have something like that similar in the 1920s. Did you know that?
Yeah.
What's that?
In
What was
southeastern Nigeria.
I didn't know that.
It was there.
Yeah. First of all, not there, but I'm talking about political action networks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s, those things existed. It was not only the market women market network that helped to mobilize for the Aba Women Revolution.
Revolt, yes.
It was also those political action network platforms that were created,
Yes.
which women participated in. Women had their own and the men had their own. These acted as pressure groups.
Yes.
So that those who were participating in the nationalist movement at the time had contacts, used this as part of the network.
Yes.
So, when we read some of these things, we need to read them properly. They weren't just women who just woke up one day and said, we're going to revolt. They wouldn't have succeeded, because one of the things I discovered as I was studying with my friend late Esabi Robi, when we were developing a musical on that, was in doing the research, was that when the Aba women going all the way to Calabar to Owerri to Umuahia, when they hit at the same time.
Yes.
It's not a question of one group had that there's rioting going in Aba and then they decided to riot.
it wasn't the
No, they
rioting
hit at the
episodes.
same time.
Yes.
And that was part of why the colonial security apparatus could not contain it.
Yes.
Because they could not contain it because there was no way one group could reinforce the other.
Yes.
So what you're describing, from the stories I've heard before, sounded like something that was actually part of the Igbo culture that started from your father's house, from Omona,
Yes.
and then extended to the village groups, to the age grades,
Yeah.
and then extended to the boys and the men's and women's groups. That not only did they have political efforts and actions assigned to them, but they also have civic duties and all the other things that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Such that in Igbo land, it wasn't necessary to have a clean-up Saturday, because every group know where they were supposed to clean and take care of.
That's right.
So are we saying that we should start from our Omona and reconstitute? Or the other thing it sounded like was, when I was growing up in the church, because we called up the church to the carpet, I went into Boys Brigade. I was brought up in Boys Brigade. I knew that those that were my cousins that were Catholic were part of the Boy Scout, and there was Girls Scout
Guides.
or Girls Guild, and there were actually Girls Brigade. And in here, I still remember the object of the Boys Brigades, the advancement of Christ's kingdom, and teach men for self-discipline, self-respect, and all that tends towards a true Christian manliness.
And Boy Scouts was be prepared.
Be prepared. So we learned, actually I played soccer there, which was great, but also playing soccer, I also learned some of the things I don't learn in school about social responsibility, what I'm supposed to do, and sometimes we get we get to direct traffic in church and help people park and help old women cross the street, all those things. I have gone home several times and I've seen the boys' brigade several times, but all I've seen them do is come up to me and ask for money.
Yeah.
So it seems like organizations and structures that build the community, that should continue to build the community, have deteriorated, and the church hasn't paid attention. And
that's
the
what
community
I'm talking. That's
attention.
what I'm saying. So the church in Nigeria, and especially in Igbo land, can learn from what we used to do, as well as learn ways to modify and reinvent these things and modify them in light of what happened in other places. There is the South African example, there is the Germany example, there is the example of what we did in the 20s and 30s and 40s. The church is the only body now that can help remedy this situation. Stop this crusading. Stop this healing ministry thing. It's not helping. You
They're
can
not
pray,
healing, and if you're not healing the mind, you're not healing anything.
I'm a priest. I keep saying it. If you can, we cannot pray ourselves out of this mess. We need to take more reasonable action.
That is, if you de kubo, onye ebe kage be sigent kamano with onye wine.
It is watch and pray. And prayer is a two-way conversation, not just my list of a laundry of things I want.
So, but I think part of what needs to be said is that the church should not also look at who is controlling the power. Onye Siemens. Because that whole conflict that was rooted in the British and North Ireland fight, or their conflict that they brought to Igbo.
It had nothing to do with
it. It has nothing to do with Igbo.
Christ is never divided.
That's the point.
And it is, and that actually, to be honest with you, has tampered down so much.
It's still up there, but it
has tampered down so much. It's not so much that way anymore. The reason why I say this is that even as a seminarian, even as a priest, now I have many Anglican priests who are my friends. It didn't used to be the way.
Actually, I think what has ramped up is not so much of the division across the denominations, but rather the divisions across the state lines that have not, or the community lines that have nothing to do. I remember that big mess with some community in Nigeria saying that they will not accept the bishop that is posted to them because he's not from their neck of the woods. That is politics that has nothing to do with what the guy is coming to do. It's like saying I'm not going to accept this principal in the school. He's not from the community. The only place I accept you doing that is the defenders, the law enforcement officers. If they're not part of your community, you have every right to demand somebody who knows you and understands you.
Well, even then, if we're going to go by that, in that route, even then, if you are a bishop, from because if we're talking about Omona and the community-based pressure groups and all of that, if you are going to organize the people in a particular structure that will have to provide them the kind of skills and education and knowledge for political action that is also drawing from the culture of the area, you got to be understanding that place very well. So I would prefer we don't mix apples and oranges here. The point I'm making is that the only institution, the only body that has what it takes now to organize properly. And another thing is the church. Another thing is this. Look at our women groups, August meeting. How they are organizing.
August meeting is just a show of clothes.
No. August meeting in many towns have been very effective in building schools, in equipping laboratories, home economics lab, science lab, and all of those things. These women have played a role. Many communities, of course, what has happened in some communities with the August meeting is that men who are so voracious and very greedy have tried to infiltrate them and meddle with them. My mother was president at some point of our women group. The health center that stands in my town now was built under her leadership and the leadership of the president, Mrs. Kamalu Harriet.
So we've identified the church.
And we identified some of the groups within the church.
No, we've identified the church.
Yes.
And why the church is so important is that the role of the spirituality among the Igbo is critical. It's important.
Yes.
There is no separation of church and state.
And not in Igbo mind.
Because within the Igbo socio-political political system that we used to run pre-colonial times, the SMO played an advisory role to the community.
Yes.
And had a veto power if whatever decision that was made by the community is going to has some national security implications that might make the god, because the gods will be angry with them, then the community will step back. So that's why you see the president, the governor will try to come to be baptized, be seen in front of the church, and then people will see it.
And that's before he secretly goes and pledges to somebody.
That's right. So my point being is, as the church steps into this arena, it's not foreign to us. They have a very unique place to begin to even address the issue of the Omonna, which is part of the family breakdown within the Igbo culture. Now you're talking about the August meeting. What the August meeting represents is not so much that women are gathering, but it's a homecoming.
It's a homecoming.
Is that homecoming, returning back to your place? And that is the point. There is no place again where the men are not.
No.
And the youth has been dislocated. I was telling somebody, I said, when I was growing up, the age grade was the training ground for leadership. So every age group that organizes are self-led by their own people, the people from that age. So all of a sudden you begin to see people emerging in the community through the age grade system. And then for those of us who went to school, in the boarding schools, you find the prefects. Those are natural leaders. Then student unionism in the colleges. So but now I want us to go back to the issue of the youth.
Yes.
What role should the youth be playing in this present dispensation?
Well, Samuel Miller says the future of a nation depends on how the youth respond to their present conditions.
Biko kwe ọzọ maka ike na fellows onwe isu ya na ọmarịma bekee
n'ọbịanihu obodo
yes
dị n'aka ndị ntorobịa na otu ha si ghọta nsogbu ha nwere n'oge ugbu a ka ọ dị n'aka. So in effect, if the youth do not understand their problem, their current situation, and do not respond properly, then the future is lost. Because Nandi Igbo si na ama iruru ọbụrụ ndị okenye na ama ha anaghị ara ahụ ya echi. So, but the problem is that we have a generation of elders who do not even understand the importance of educating the youth. Because we have runaway elders. We have elders who are renegades.
Father Alaro's in a village.
Exactly. So they're not accountable to anybody. They
run away from Abuja. They run to Abuja and Lagos.
Yeah. So we have all these, wealthy guys, political class who are not mentoring anybody except those who carry bags for them.
Could I say it differently? You call them wealthy guys. I actually like to call them guys with money.
Guys with money. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. So, my take on this is we need to start afresh. Now, there is one of our priests here. In fact, sometime I would like you guys to bring him in and maybe get him called in. His name is Father Godswill Abagwa. He is based off in Maryland, who runs a youth leadership and development center. In fact, he was nominated and participated in the last joint World Bank IMF meeting. And he goes to Nigeria twice a year, running all these program on youth development. And his philosophy is that what will bring Africa out of the woods, and Nigeria in particular, is to bring and train a new generation of young minds who are less corrupt, who are more responsible. And he has been running a lot of that program, bringing a lot of young people into the midst. So this one person I would encourage you guys to think about bringing on board sometimes to talk about some of these things. But in effect, the problem, one of the issues I have is how we always think about solving our problem here and now. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to bringing a nation or a community or a people out of the woods of their problems, it's not something, especially if it has taken decades and more so centuries to mess up. It's not something that you can come out of in one day.
Fix in one day. Yes.
We got to be patient, but we got to, as a miri jolulu, esieba na esi akwawaraka,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Awe, ahwebe. So we can't expect that we are going to solve this problem in one day. We got to be patient and start somewhere, hoping that when I run this race, if I run 1 mile and get tired and I expire, I can hand over the baton to you and you keep running until we reach the point where we want to be.
Yes.
If we know we have a lot of things to say against the Fulanis and the way they are behaving in Nigeria. But one thing I've noticed about them, having many of them as friends and having interacted with them a lot, is their patience, their persistence, and their perseverance.
Yes.
So much so that a father knows that my target is that land is going to be a Fulani land.
Yes.
When? I don't know. But if it takes 200 years, even if it happens not in my presence, so be it. But I will do my best to keep inching very close to that land.
So why cage a large of it?
Exactly.
Yes. And not you see that idea ndị Igbo na dinta say that na ebe neke ntị ọba si na ya ga-efe bebe na nyanwa ga-agba atụ. You know, so at some point we need to begin to change our strategy and develop long-term strategies. Why I asked the question about the youth is because we see the youth on the streets also.
Yeah.
And they seem not to be having the kind of impact that they should have in a democracy. What should the youth be doing?
Well,
at this point?
Some youth showed up on the street with a flag, called themselves IPOP. The next thing they knew, they were proscribed, and then there was a python dancing in their backyard. So, if you are ECU to put that,
because also the youth in question who call themselves IPOP and carried flags were not trained.
Yes.
Did not acquire the skill. You talked about when you were in Boys Brigade.
Yes.
I was a member of the Boy Scouts. I was a patrol leader in the Boy Scouts movement.
50th Enugu Company cadet officer.
Yes, I was a night over the troop. Yes. So we had training on how to be strategic, how to be patient, even how to read the weather.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
If I got lost in the bush,
you have to read the compass to
how do I find my way out?
And if I the magnetic compass, not GPS.
and if I didn't have a compass,
yes,
how can I use the vegetation?
Yes.
How can I use the moon? How can I use the stars to find myself home?
Yes.
I learned those things as a little boy. So, but we have a generation, these IPOB, who suddenly started wearing uniforms and calling themselves the Biafran DSS. But who don't even know who do not even know the tallest tree in their village.
Yes.
Or how it came to be.
And how it came to be.
Yes.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So you see, at the end of the day, who has the responsibility? This generation of youth will take time. If you want to use them. We need to start with the little ones.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it boils down again to putting some structures in place that will help.
So just like we talked about when we're talking about election, 2023 is the one that is obtainable if we are going to talk about.
2019 is not
2019 is gone.
It's gone.
So also we will have to live with this problem for a while. The only way to make it better is to start Tabubo for 50 years from now.
And but what I'm hearing also is not just elections.
Yes.
But it's social re-engineering.
Social re-engineering, yes.
Be ye renewed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
Renewal of that mind, also going back to who we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because now Ikenye no Ewuna Munobole. It's not. It has failed the community.
Definitely.
then water chilling bunilin nienu
I got an if any nikiri.
agaya niru
Yes.
has also failed this community.
Definitely.
So because the ife water no na nenu wefu nike no na ni no afia. So there's this interdependence that has to be rebuilt, where the youth know that they depend on the wisdom of the elderly, and where the elders know that it is their responsibility to channel the skills, the power, and the energy of the youth, and to groom them for leadership. So, because that is something that has become a problem within Anibo. A lot of the people that I see today in the political arena, some of them I learned in civics in elementary school that they were leaders in Anibo. And they have continued for nearly 40 years. I mean, what are you doing in the political arena? No. The point is, let's be frank.
But the other thing, when these same people have repeated the same process over and over and over again with even worse results.
Yes.
But we haven't learned the lessons. We haven't taken the time to go if
Yes, because again, they are making government look foreign. That is really one of the things that I've perceived. Government is the people. So for the Igbo, the government, opposing the Britain.
Government.
Government
onye bụ onye Owere gụnwa bi na Owere gọọmenti Owere bụ gọọmenti.
Yes. Ọ ngị nwa ga-ekwu ife ga-eme no.
Yes.
Ọ bụrụ onye bịa ọ gwaghị ife ọ ga-eme.
Yes.
Ọ ngị ga-ekwu ife ga-eme no, and ọ bụ na ọ mere ife okwu ewega ya n'ụsọ. So mgbe o ji wee bịa bulu ego bịa ifrọfụ na nya okwu na o metara ya.
Onye ka nji si
maka ogobibe ga-egobibe ọ bụrụ na nyanwa na onwe ya alụtara ọlụ. So the man that is trying to buy your vote,
he's paid for. He's giving you money.
He's trying to pay.
What are you coming back for?
Yes.
Yes.
And so for the activists, because there's a lot of energy on the side of the pro-Biafra movement.
Yes.
What do you think? What is your advice and counsel for them in this present dispensation for the pro-Biafra movement? Because it's something that we have to live with.
Yes.
It's something that we should recognize that is quite active and robust.
Before you say, I can wonder by in a time now choose also. So I gauge my way book of Anya will quite well here 5 minutes.
Yes.
So I just do it maka then I said no will Biafra. No whatever age as in Nigeria.
I don't think so. I think I said this before during the last time when I was on this show, when you guys called me in. I said it doesn't necessarily be about Biafra or not.
Yes.
And I remember saying we want the country to be restructured into true federalism, in the failure of which then we can start talking about whether we want to go home.
Yes.
Everyone to their tent.
Yes.
So that's the way I see it. However, pro-Biafra or not pro-Biafra is not the problem, because even anyị ndị Igbo,
yes,
anyị edozigo ụlọ anyị, anyị azachaga ezi anyị, tupu anyị ekwuwe okwu Biafra. Ị na-akpọta ndị ọbịa si ha bịa na be gị bịa soro gị chie ọzọ, mgbe ị ma na ezi gị dị ruru inyi.
Yes. So nkata ga-akpa na Igbo ka nkụ tupu abịa kwube pro Biafra.
Yes. So n'ife a na-ekwu bụ ma Igbo
IPO
ka azọta nke nwa bụ onye Igbo jee na alfa PVC jide.
Yes.
A na-akpa nkata ife niile a ekwu depụta n'akwụkwọ ife bụ ife ilo gọọmenti ga-alụ.
A na-akwụsị ile PVC I think in August ka October 30th.
Yes.
So ọ bụrụ na ị nwetabe PVC gị ị nwere less than 2 months.
Jee nweta ya.
Actually gwa onwe gị na ị nwere less than 1 month jee jide ya n'aka.
Yes. That is what is your right as a Nigerian.
Yes.
As onye Igbo. You know, okay, it's okay na nke wa abụrụ Nigerian. As onye Igbo maka na election a enwe ike na-asị na ama mmie. But ọ ma anya asị na ya emie. Ọ ka iwe dị nkwadobo in the spirit of ife ọkwa gwara ụmụ ya. Atụrụ ji, si tụrụ mgbọrọgwụ. That's right. We have to be ready.
Yes.
If the community decides, if the entire nation decides, okay, this election is not going to happen, then we will see what direction Nigeria will be going.
When if he loses,
If
no
you-
PVC gas no man.
If the election is,
PVC gas no man.
if the election is going to happen, then yes. Now, before we leave,
Yes.
I want us to send a clear message to the political class.
Yes.
What do you think is their responsibility to Ndibo and to Nigeria? Because a good Igbo land, a well-governed Igbo land, it's a benefit to Nigeria
Wow.
and the world.
Yeah. Because, as you and I know, and this is not a matter of boasting our ego as Ndibo. Somebody wrote a book, he says, in Biafra, Africa died. Ndị na-amaghị achọghị ịma mgbe ụfọdụ hatred, jealousy, and envy blind us to the fact that we have a group, a people who have what it takes to not only lift us up or lift our country up, but to help Africa be lifted up. If people think if we continue to go in the direction, in this direction of fracturing of the nation along ethnic lines, thinking that when our ethnic group is in charge, well, I'm sorry for Nigeria, I'm sorry for Africa, we're heading nowhere. And politicians who continue to think that if they get into power and amass money, they will have succeeded. What I said to them is, go buy a first-class ticket, enter the airplane, and when you are seated there, quietly, after you have drank the first round of your chilled champagne,
Yes.
ask yourself the question, if this machine goes up and has problem, who will die? Is it the ones,
In
the
first
poor,
class.
the poor people in the cabin, or the ones in the first class? In fact, from the pilot to the person sitting at the tail end of the aircraft, everybody is in danger.
Yes.
The problem is the Nigerian air machine is airborne, and everybody is in danger.
That's right.
In Nigeria, no problem in an airplane. So now,
Well, that's why I'm directing it to the political class. They are the
Yes.
ones that fly.
Okay, only here man over there, Bambi. I mean, it's a terrible thing. We could hear the by we obi in a metal for the Madunaro, and we're dock boat that recently just sank.
Yes.
And then Madun was here. Actually, Elijah Cummins na DC. I was listening to him talk. Oh well, the different types of I mean, in Maryland, the Queen Mary, that's why you look at Queen Mary Majestic, and they tell you all the stories about it. But not too far. Where some military retired the Navy ships Nebu my plane even those are retired. So there are all kinds of ships. When I say well, na ụgbọ dị n'iche n'iche. And ụfọdụ n'ime anyị ka anyị rapụrụ Afrịka ọ na-agwa ndị n'ebe a. Adọla ha tinye n'ụgbọ ha chọrọ ije. Ụfọdụ n'ime anyị ji ụgbọ epepe wee gbawa ọsọ. Etu aka ọ dị na Naịjirịa, ụgbọ ọbụla iji na ya wee nọdụ ebe ị nọ, ọ bụ na ụgbọ pepe ka iji akụ azụ gị. Wụlụ nọ nke nnukwu, wụlụ nọ yacht, wụlụ nọ single engine, wụlụ nọ a big ship, wụlụ nọ cruise ship, nke ọ bụla iji. Anyị ncha niile nọ n'ofu ụgbọ right now, and ụgbọ ahụ Nigeria. If he goes down, onwekwa onye n'ime anyị na-survive. Ụgbọ amasị well imago na this guy dị too rich na ya dị eli ụdị anụ na ihe a dị too rich for him. So ife ikwulu ka m kwelu mana ife ma ọ nwere ndị ntọlụ ya ama ndị na-ene m anya echeta mgbe ụmụazị akatago m ahụ ama m n'isi awa m adị egosi ọfụma mana ndị so m n'azụ ya ndị nọ ka the youth now ụnụ ka ọ dịzikwo n'aka mụnwa ga na retirement very soon mana m na retirement adịrọ nshọ na Nigeria dị na my plans. Ọ ga-adị mma ka Nigeria dị na my plans. The only way it will be in my plans bụ na ụnụ nwa ị na-eche ka ndị agha agwarọ gị gwa gị they won't. Mana ọ bụrụ na agbara onye owuwe were mgba ọmechi ife m na-asị ụnụ awụrụ ụnụ ji ekpalịba ndị tọrọ ụnụ ma ọ bụ ndị mụrụ ụnụ mana o nwere ka ọ ga-esi dị ekpuru nkata n'iru gwa okenye okwu oge elugo ụnụ ga-etinyebe anya ụnụ n'okwu if you don't try to get the power, nobody will give it to you.
Yes.
You should step into the market square, say, Naifa, and it's my turn to do it. I was in 1966. I know 2018, almost 19. If you don't step out to the market square and show what you could do,
okay. And again, you're listening to Straight Talk Radio, WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This program is brought to you by the Igbo American Heritage Foundation, and we are broadcasting out of a community radio here in Chicago, which is WGHC 98.3 FM. Yes, we depend on charity donations and your contributions and support to continue to serve our community. And so as a non-for-profit organization, we will ask for your donations, and you know that your donations will be tax deductible. All that we are trying to do is to be your voice, to play your music, and to be your station. So go to WGHC98.3fm.org, and you will be able to make a donation. And you can also follow us on our Facebook page live all the time, or tune in to our dial 98.3 FM. And before we go, I would like to remind you again, for those of you in the Chicago area, this weekend is your Igbo Fest 2018. And so Saturday, join us at the Jackson Park by
63rd and Hayes.
63rd and Hayes.
It's
That's
actually 1700 East 63rd Street. That's by 60.
For your GPS.
63rd and actually South Shore on the southwest corner of 63rd of Hayes and South Shore. When you get there, look for the baseball field. You will find us not too far.
That's right. And so come in. There'll be a lot of fun, a lot of music, a lot of food. And you will really get to meet these Igbo people.
It's free food. And for some of y'all who've been asking me where you find those beautiful Igbo ladies that make good food that you could marry, if you miss this, you'll keep asking that question. If you're that Igbo lady and asking where are those professional and well-groomed Igbo men that I always talk about hanging out with, if you miss it, don't ask me again. But also, the other thing is, if you actually want to have a pre-meeting and get yourself ready to hang out on that Saturday, there's a Friday conversation going on mostly by the young people at 7131 South. I'll get it for you. But come down to this. It's by the Gary Coleman College Prep. It's at the Alumni Hall. So come down there and we will have a conversation before we leave. In 2 seconds, I will find the right address and tell you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So join us, Igbo Fest, Igbo Festival. So you see the Igbo in Chicago. Again, we want to thank Father Okibo, Dr. Austin Okibo, for joining us. He's quite an intellectual. We always enjoy your company and your insight and understanding of some of these issues. And so for a lot of Igbo listening, Tata Bubo.
And for the
address for the
Friday,
symposium.
July 27th symposium, Igbo Gadi is the topic. Come out to 7131 South Chicago Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, 60619, the Gary Coma College Prep Alumni Hall, 7131 South Chicago Avenue.
And then on Sunday, we'll have an ecumenical service
at 125 East 26th Street, Chicago, Illinois, at the Trinity Episcopal Church, 26th
So
and Michigan.
come out and be with us. And the time for the service is
5 o'clock. The time you could start coming out to the park is 11 a.m. And by the way, the food is free, the music is free, entertainment is free, everything is free. Same thing on the 27th on Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you come at 6:30, you may miss the good food that is going to be there. But still show up because it will be great conversation. Igbo Gadi.
They were. So, Dr. Kibo, final words.
Onyola Jisike, everybody, please pay attention to some of these activities. Pay attention to what is happening around you. Pay attention to what is happening at home. Be engaged. Stay engaged. If Okoba Siomon Nea so na Obako, Onyunu Petre na Akaya no ya, Ewere ya Jitwaja.
And like my good friend Adibo Nekob, as he says, remember, you political servants, remember you are public servants, not tyrants.
Dalo no kachivon.
They will.
That one.
So, see you Tuesday. We'll be back here from 9 to 10. This is Straight Talk to you, again from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station. They will know. I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
They will know.